And we're thrilled to be joined today by former Springbok and current SuperSport analyst, Hanyani Shimange. Thanks so much for jumping on the pod. Hanyani, how are you getting on?
Very good. They are very good. It's been a while since I've been in Dublin, so good to be back here. Very hospitable people. The weather's been behaving so far. We usually say that then Saturday starts raining, but it's been good fun. Really excited for the game. I mean, it's been 5 years, I think, since we were last here, and a lot's changed since then. So we're really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, it's long overdue. I'm glad to hear your trips to Dublin. They've been good so far. Any good memories stand out?
Well, look, last time I was here, I was actually a player. I think it was 2004, and we actually lost the test match. It was the old Lansdowne Road. So John was the starting hooker. I was on the bench, didn't get on though, but it was a good occasion. I think, look, obviously the result didn't go away because we lost to England the following week. So it was a tough tour, but it's been good. It's always good to be here. I think with the URC guys, a lot of the guys that have come here have realized how tough the rugby is, but always enjoyed the crowd and the support of the rugby here. So it's a beautiful city and beautiful rugby supporters.
Yeah, and not the worst job in the world to be trying to Dublin to commentate in the game. How is everything with SuperSport? I know a lot of people listening will be big fans of your commentary. Indeed, I am exactly the same. Love your analysis. How is that job working out for you?
It's good fun. Look, I can't really complain. To be honest with you, I get embarrassed when people call it a job. It doesn't feel like it at all. You travel. We got next week we're in Marseille, Italy, and then back to London. But I think the best thing is you get to watch rugby on a Saturday afternoon. You talk about it. You give your opinion, your thoughts, and you get paid for it. So you love what you do. It doesn't. For me, it doesn't feel like a job at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Very enjoyable. You're bang on to call it that. Listen, wanted to ask you about the Springboks team. They named yesterday, sticking to the tradition of early namings in the week. The big kind of talking point was Cheslin Colby, a fullback for the first time for the Boks. Damien Willemse continues at 10. We have Jesse Creel at 13. It's very unfortunate that Lucan Johan won't be able to go up against Gary Ringrose. It would have been a battle for the ages. But what are your thoughts on that Springboks selection?
Look, it's pretty exciting. I think, as a forward, you look at the low numbers, 1 to 8, and can they dominate? Can they get, their ascendancy? Can they generate penalties through pressure and get into the 22-meter areas? And I think that's when the Boks will take over. But Cheslin is special. I think a loose kick, a bad kick, or an attacking opportunity, he will take that hands down, and he can punish people for mistakes. I think that's the exciting thing. But people underestimate how good Cheslin is under the high ball, how good his kicking game is, and also, his game sense. It's not Cheslin's going to catch the ball and try and run everything. He'll make the right decision, but when he gets the opportunity to pull his magic, he will do that pretty well.
And Damien Willemse, he's obviously played the last couple of games at out half, but it is kind of a big talking point in this side of the world. People are more familiar with Handré Pollard, obviously. How's he kind of settled into that role?
He's good. Look, Damien Willemse was the fly-off initially. I watched him as a schoolboy. He's always been a 10. Left school, played 10 a bit for Western Province in the Currie Cup, then got shifted to fullback. He's just so talented that you need him in the team. Played centre URC, and that's probably his best position for now. But he's not. I think playing at 12 has made him a better 10, to be honest with you, because he can almost see the game from a 12's point of view, when to give it. He's got the experience of Damien Dalinda outside him, so he knows when to dish it. But similar to Cheslin, if the opportunity does come, he's not scared to take the ball flat and attack the defensive line. And he's got a good offloading game. So if he's got players running around outside him, then he can be pretty dangerous. But I think what's good for the Boks is, from midfield right, you can have a Damien Willemse the one side and a Cheslin Colby at standing at first receiver the other side. So you've got threats both sides of the field. With Kurtley Orense, who's, in terms of the ability to beat players one-on-one, he's a player that probably a lot of guys haven't seen a lot of. He got suspended after the All Black game, but he can dance, he can go, if he has to. So it's an exciting Springbok backline. If they get gain line and front football, then the backs will be incredibly dangerous.
Is it a shift in philosophy for the Springboks, do you think? On reflecting from the Rugby Championship, Willemse at 10 probably doesn't fit the traditional mould of what was seen from the Boks in the last 10 to 15 years. You think Mornay, Steyn, Handré Pollard, Francois Steyn, their first instinct always seemed to be to play for position. When Damien Willemse gets the ball, his first instinct is to take the line on, use his physical attributes, and bring players around him into the game. What was kind of the synopsis from the Rugby Championship? Is there kind of a acknowledgement that they're looking to expand the way they play?
I think the thing with Willemse, if he's probably, if you look at all those other flops, he's probably got the best agility in terms of to use his feet and beat players one-on-one. That's why if you look, Mornay Steyn wouldn't be able to cover fullback. None of those 10, probably Pollard could cover 10 and 12, whereas Willemse can cover 10, 12 and fullback. So he offers a different threat. Now, decision-making is up to him, what the game plan is, whether it's the right thing to kick territory or not. But Willemse is a lot bigger and stronger than people think, you know. So if he does make the wrong decision, he's got the ability to box in contact, win that tackle fight, create the ruck, and then restart again, which works well. Even Cheslin Kolbe, as you know, people talk about a lot about his size, but measures output, not his size. And he's got the ability to fight in contact. And if you make the wrong decision, you know, you can still live another day and still play. And that's probably the difference between Willemse and the other two. You know, he can play a territorial game if he has to. If he has to kick every single ball, and that's the decision that he has to make, he will do that. But chances are, if you know, the opportunity presents itself to have a go, he can do it and he'll punish you.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see. He's just such a skillful player, isn't he? You know more of that than most of us. I think probably reflecting on the stats from the Rugby Championship, what was really interesting was in that first test match in Argentina, Willemse only kicked the ball 4 times in open play, which is such a low number. And again, some of the stats that really stood out for me was the shift from South Africa. What won in the World Cup was their ability to kick long and in. They typically had the most kick meters against their opponent. In the Rugby Championship, they kicked the most, but for the least amount of meters. And it looks like there's a little bit of a shift in terms of how they're kicking. They're kicking shorter, a little bit more of an attacking profile. And again, just probably maybe points to an expansion of how South Africa play. We understand their high pressure, territorial focused game has delivered them World Cups, Lion Series, but it just looks from the outside looking in that there looks like there's an expansiveness to how South Africa are playing now.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, and you're right. You're spot on there. Look, the short kicks will give you broken field opportunities. You know, if you win the scraps, you win that aerial contest, and you get that ball back, then the defense isn't set, players are retreating, so the line is disjointed. So then it gives you the opportunity to have a go. You know, we speak about Willemse, but another player that's come into the mix is Hendrikse at 9. You know, he's got a very good box kick, very good pass, so he can't control the game for 9. And then you probably found that the kicking percentage has gone down from a 10 point of view, but it's probably gone up at 9. So they're not kicking less; they're just kicking from different positions. You know, on the field, you know, Damon D'Alenda also outside he's got the tendency to put 1 or 2 attacking kicks, but you know, spot on. I think when you do make those contestable kicks, it does give you the opportunity. But also, you got to look at the Argentina game. I think the Springboks needed to win by 38 points. So chances they were probably, you know, they probably had to have a bit more of a go. They weren't going to kick their way to 38 points. Chances are you win the territorial game and you try to win the game from then on by throwing the ball around. So because if you look at from a context point of view, probably different scenarios.
Yeah, and you're right to flag Hendrikse as well. He's been so impressive, hasn't he? Just taking over that mantle, and people are well used to seeing Faf at 9, but he's grown into it. The other guy who is back is the main man, Rasty. His ban is complete. He's able to get thoroughly involved again, and he's been, I suppose, a controversial figure, Shimmy, in the last number of years or whatever. But how much love is there for the man in South Africa?
No, massive. I think the guys they love Rasty. I think since the World Cup, what he managed to do. If you look where, I think I can't remember. I think it was the last time, 2017. I'm right. He took over. I think just after that, 2018, when we lost to Ireland. If I'm not mistaken, the score was 38-3 or 38-5 or something like that.
38-3, yeah.
Yeah, and we also got hammered by New Zealand after that. And he managed to change around along with good players and his management team. You sort of, I don't think it's one individual. I think it's a collective. He managed to change around, win the World Cup. And he brought that pride and sort of that pride back into the jersey, the Springbok jersey that's loved so much back in South Africa. So a national hero back home, obviously well publicized, you know, what happened after the Lion series. He's back in the mix now. And massive value in terms of the players, the support he'll offer to the rest of the coaches, to Jacques Minauber. They work brilliantly together.
We haven't seen any of his dancing on social media yet this week, but hopefully that's still to come. I wanted to ask about your impressions. Of Ireland and their resurgence under Andy Farrell and the style of play. It's been the talk of the town here, obviously. What have you made of all that?
No, it's massive. I think the thing with Ireland is they've got a clear identity. I sort of watched that first game against New Zealand. I was actually watching it yesterday. Then you watch the second test, and the way they played, the ability to hang on to the ball for long phases, the skill they use. And it's a team that's been together. It's almost like it's a great system because you get the feeling they've got the sixth sense. So they run off each other beautifully. The pack is incredibly mobile. They're a self-aware team. They can change the game plan around if they need to. But it's a team that keeps coming at you the whole time. I think because of URC, the South Africans have gotten to know the Irish players a lot more with the teams traveling down, the difference between, the rivalry between Ulster, Munster, Connaught, and Leinster. So it's been massive value. But I think there's a bit of understanding of Irish rugby, what they can achieve, and also the toughness they've had. I think Kurt Smile's been there, South African guy that coached there. He was involved at the Storm as a director of rugby post-Ireland. John Plumtree was there. Joe Schmidt did a marvelous job, but there's massive respect for Ireland, what they do. But I think the style of rugby is what has attracted a lot of people. An Irish team is very exciting to watch.
It'd be fascinating to see how they go against the quite aggressive and oppressive Springboks defense. You mentioned the URC there, and people on this side of the water are absolutely thrilled with the involvement of the South African sides, obviously, and how competitive it's made it. How has it grown and been perceived in South Africa, the URC?
No, the guys love it. I think also what makes a big difference is also the times. You sort of sit down on a Saturday afternoon and there's 3 or 4 rugby games. And, South Africans, they love you guys probably call it a barbecue, a braai, and a couple of beers on a sunny day in South Africa. So it's perfectly suited for that. But it's just brought in an injection. I think Super Rugby started to get a bit stale, with certain teams. I think the South Africans always enjoyed a Crusaders team or the New Zealand team because of the association with the All Blacks and the history there. But it's just brought a completely new perspective to rugby from a South African point of view, different styles, I think, adapting to what Ireland can do. The Scottish teams bring a different flavor and the Welsh team. So it's pretty new to us, but I think it's just going to grow further and further. And I think the last year was a dream, having that final in South Africa. So in terms of the growth of the competition, it was just massive from a South African point of view.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. I know Johnny Sexton got maybe a bit of criticism over his interactions with the referee in that Sharks game. What's the perception of a guy like him over in South Africa? Because he's a legend of Irish rugby now, obviously.
Yeah, it's highly not very. You can compare it to Nick White with the Wallabies and Johnny Sexton with the Irish. I think it's probably a similar look. They look at him, and the reality is, he's doing it to try and get the result for his team. If it was a South African guy, chances are that the South Africans would say he's right. Look, the ref was wrong. But if you look at it from that point of view, I think especially because he's a fly off, and he's complaining like that. So it's not. There's no love in it. Let me put it that way. Between that, but I think it's just. I think it was one incident. I think also it happened with the Bulls last year. And the Bulls in the semi-final, where I think Sexton came off the bench and he was going at the Bulls guys, and he's a fiery character. So there's no love lost there, and it's probably going to explode slightly, I reckon, on the weekend also.
Yeah, Johnny Sexton isn't going to thank you for comparing him to Nick White after the Nick White dive against South Africa in Adelaide.
Yeah, exactly. That was all over. I mean, I was in Australia then, but I just sort of, you're commentating like, South African, it's going to go crazy in South Africa. What's happened? What's going on with rugby? This is embarrassing. But then you speak to the Australian guys, and they sort of made a joke about it. But these things happen in sports. Whatever you're going to try to do to get the advantage for your team.
He's a wily character, isn't he?
He sure
that kick out at the weekend against Scotland, where he has the wherewithal to drill that 22-meter dropout low and hard and to touch to win in the game. He has all the tricks of the trade, I think.
That was amazing. That was a great kick. That was very smart. I must say you don't see many. I was sort of, because I watched that game thinking if he kicks it long, there's a drop kick opportunity here. You kick it short, you give away a penalty, they can still win the game. But it's perfect execution. Perfect.
Yeah, great player, great competitor. Very like Johnny Sexton in that sense, and Sexton won't be taking a backward step. Just to wrap, Shimmy, how confident then do you think South African supporters are about this game? It's a fascinating clash for Ireland. They've just come off the high of beating the All Blacks in a series down New Zealand, belief and confidence flowing. But what's the South African perspective coming into this game?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you the confidence levels, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at, this is purely from an analytical point of view. Leinster, there's a lot of Leinster players in the Irish squad. So you look at, the big Leinster losses the last couple of years, it was Saracens, big pack, massive line speed, good kicking game. La Rochelle, big pack, line speed, big kicking game. The Bulls, big, also same thing, contesting lineup, very, very South African, sort of a DNA, South African DNA. And that's what the Springboks are going to bring this weekend, a similar concept. So I think from a South African point of view, the guys will be pretty confident. The Bulls would have had a good experience against, and I keep saying Leinster, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to all the Irish teams. It's just that there's a lot of Leinster players in the Irish squad. So in terms of that, so South Africans, if you look at our results against a New Zealand team, we were used to attacking teams throwing the ball around. Wallabies, Southern Hemisphere teams bring exactly the same. Ireland will bring the same in terms of attacking, obviously different little touches and so on. So from a defensive point of view, I think South Africans will be confident. I think it's the ability for the South Africans to convert that set piece pressure into points. I think that was probably the one worrying thing from the championship, where 22-meter entries weren't really coming back with good results. And if Springboks can do that, they'll be in with a massive fight. Also, 5 years ago, we sort of got long memories in South Africa. So they won't forget that. And what was said, about South Africa being a spent force, we done, and all of that. So I think that's going to sort of try drive the Springbok team.
Yeah, that RT clip has been doing the rounds. I know this week I've seen it pop up a few times, but you've teed it up beautifully there. Thanks so much, Jimmy. Any plans for the rest of the week before the game in Dublin?
Yeah, look, I've got some tough choices. It's either go to the Guinness factory or to see where Jamison is made. Or I've got the option to play golf on Thursday afternoon. So that will be dependent on the weather. So those are my 3 options. And then besides that, meet a couple of mates that are flying over from South Africa. Stay away from them because they'll be probably getting stuck into a lot of beers. And then I just prepare for the game and just enjoy the occasion.
You're a top professional.
If you could bring a few of the Springbok boys with you to the Guinness factory and the Jameson factory on the Wednesday, that would be much appreciated.
No, we'll see. I'll offer it to the non-playing guys and see what they're keen for. But generally, I think they'll choose golf.
We really appreciate you joining on the podcast today. Thank you so much. We'll let you go. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Enjoy the game, boys. Cheers. Bye.